5. They all reacted at the same time. This scene was captured by a security camera inside a veterinary clinic in the United States. A calm environment, a normal routine, until something suddenly changes. A woman is there with her dog, waiting to be seen. When everyone reacts at the same time, she flinches. The animals become restless, as if something had just passed through. And when you look towards the end of the corridor, you can see it. A figure appears for a brief moment, moves quickly, and simply passes through the wall, without stopping, without leaving a trace. Gone. The clinic owners say the footage is real, and that they have no explanation for what happened. It could just be a trick of the light, a reflection, something that fooled the camera. But there's one detail that's hard to ignore. It wasn't just the image. The people and the animals reacted at the exact same moment. So the question remains, if there was nothing there, what made everyone look in the exact same direction at the same time? 4. They were standing there, waiting. There are places that feel wrong, even before you arrive. This footage, shared by a page from Amapá, shows a man heading towards an isolated bridge on the way to the IAP in northern Brazil. It was meant to be a normal drive until he got closer.
E eu parei o carro aqui, mas tem 3 pessoas ali do outro lado ali, ó. 3 caras em pé lá. Pensa no cara que ficou com medo agora, Matheus. Olha aí, ó. Pessoal, do outro lado lá. Deus me livre e guarde.
In the distance, shapes appear on the road. At first, they look like people, standing still, together. But as he approaches, something feels off. They don't move. They don't react to the car. They remain silent. There's something about the way they're positioned that doesn't seem natural. Later, people from the area claimed those figures weren't even fully on the ground, but slightly suspended.
É verdade, Augusto. O Leandro, que é parceiro meu que roda de pirata pra Iapoca, ele e mais 4 piratas filmaram ontem isso aí, tiraram foto ontem. E esses caras que aparecem na beira, na cabeça da ponte do lado de lá, é visagem, caralho. Visagem mesmo. Ele tá assombrado, ele queria nem trabalhar mais pra estrada. Ele disse que os caras estavam lá o tempão lá, e quando ele viu, ele parou o carro, ficou lá filmando, ficou esperando os outros piratas chegarem, os outros 4, e mostrou os caras, todo mundo vendo os 3 caras do outro lado lá. Ele falou, mano, bora meter a cara. Aí lá nessa ponte acontece acidente direto, morre gente direto nessa ponte lá de noite, que vê visagem lá. Aí ele viu, pô. Aí os 4 estavam vendo, os 5, né? Aí quando foi chegando perto, o pé dos caras não encostava no chão, pô. Ele fez outro vídeo, vai mandar, vou te mandar depois. Aí o pé dos caras não encostava no chão, quando o cara chegou bem perto, eles sumiram na frente dele, assim, a olho nu, assim, na frente dele, sumiram os caras. Já pensou? Banda Iapoca, vocês estavam vindo do Iapoca.
And then, the most unsettling part. As soon as the cars cross the bridge, the figures simply disappear. No movement, they just vanish. It could be an illusion, people on the road, or a trick of the light. But if they were just people, why didn't they react? And if you were there in the middle of the night, would you stop or keep driving without looking back? 3. Was it a goodbye or something else? There are moments when everything is still so recent that anything out of the ordinary starts to feel different. This family had just gone through a difficult loss. The older sister had been battling cancer for some time, but sadly, she didn't make it. After the funeral, they all gathered at home, still trying to process everything, that heavy silence filled with emotion. And it was in that moment that something caught their attention. A balloon begins to move across the room. At first it seems ordinary, perhaps a slight draft in the air. Nothing unusual, but it doesn't move randomly. It drifts slowly through the space, as if it has somewhere to go, until it reaches exactly where the younger brother is. And then it stops. It stays there in front of him, and tilts slightly, as if leaning closer. It's subtle, but unsettling enough to feel wrong. But then, suddenly, the boy reacts. He jumps up, startled, looking behind him, clearly confused, saying that he felt something touch his back. And that's when the situation changes, because it's one thing for the balloon to move, something else entirely, for someone to feel a touch they can't explain. The family believes it was a farewell, a form of comfort, as if she was still there in that moment. But there's also another possibility. Perhaps it was just a coincidence, a movement of air, and the boy's sensation caused by the emotion of the moment. Even so, if you had been there, in that silence, just after losing someone, and felt a touch with no one around, would you really be able to ignore it? 2. The passenger was already in the car. Some rides start off a bit strange, but very few leave a feeling that truly stays with you after it's all over. Ken is an Uber driver who often records what happens inside his car. Normally, it's everyday situations, different passengers, curious conversations, the kind of things that don't go much further than that. But during one of his shifts, he ended up accepting a ride that already felt slightly out of the ordinary. The pickup location was Lincoln Cemetery. Even so, it still seemed plausible. It was during the day, so you could assume someone had been visiting the place or was on their way out. Nothing that, on its own, seemed impossible, so he accepts the ride and heads to the address. But when he arrives exactly at the location marked by the app, the situation starts to feel off.
We are picking a passenger called Betty up from the Fort Lincoln Cemetery. So we are at a cemetery and we have a passenger to pick up. I'm picking this person called Betty up, and it's over there. And it's a cemetery, and there's no one over here. So we'll find out what's going on here. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but we'll go find out what's going on over here. It's kind of it's kind of crazy.
The car comes to a stop right in the middle of the cemetery, and there's no one waiting, no one walking, no one near the entrance, no movement anywhere, just silence and that open space with graves in every direction. Even so, he decides to wait a while. Perhaps the passenger is on their way, or just running a few minutes late.
Well, my app says I'm here. Let's try calling them again.
This Uber call is being recorded. Please leave your message.
So I ended up canceling the ride because there's nobody over here. You know? No one over here.
Time passes and nothing happens. No one shows up. No sign that anyone actually requested the ride. That's when he decides to cancel. But after the video was posted, people began to notice a detail he himself hadn't picked up on at the time. Some viewers claim that, at a specific moment, you can hear a very faint voice, almost blending into the background noise, saying, "I'm here." And that completely changes the way you look at the scene, because if that really is a voice, then a far more unsettling question comes up. What if whoever requested the ride was never outside to begin with? Some people began suggesting exactly that the supposed passenger might already have been inside the car from the start, perhaps sitting in the back seat without him even realizing. Of course, there's also a simpler explanation. It could just be an odd sound, someone in the distance, or even the viewer's interpretation of what they're hearing. But even so, something doesn't quite add up. The ride was requested, the location was correct, and there was no one there. So, to put it plainly, if it were you, stopped in the middle of a cemetery in broad daylight, and you heard someone say, "I'm here," would you have the nerve to check the back seat, or would you drive off straight away? 1. Something was watching from the sky. This young man, who lives with his family in a city in Colombia, was just recording his work routine, as he normally does, not expecting anything unusual. It was meant to be just another simple recording, until something catches their attention.
Hey, ¿cómo están? Bueno, mi gente, me encuentro aquí en mi finca y esta mata de plátano tiene alrededor de 7 a 8 meses. Entonces voy a proceder a deshojarla. Esto es muy importante en el cultivo de plátano, el deshoje. Todas estas cosas así hay que quitárselas. Todas estas hojitas así secas hay que quitarlas porque donde propagan las plagas. ¿Qué? ¿Qué? Ay, mira, mira, Jimena, ve, ¿eso qué es? ¿Eso qué es, Mena? ¿Qué es eso? Venga, 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 venga. Traémosla desde acá, venga. Rápido, corra, corra. ¿Qué es eso? Mírala, mírala, mírala como da vuelta. Ve, 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 ve. Ay, Dios mío. Mira, mira, mi gente, algo. ¿Esto qué, pues? ¿Esto qué es, mi gente? Esto parece como una esfera. ¿Qué puede ser esto, mi gente? Ah, mi gente, ahí está, pues, vea. Un objeto no identificado. Vamos, vamos para allí, venga, venga.
In the sky, high above where they are, a metallic sphere appears, hovering. At first it seems distant, hard to make out what it is, but as they begin to focus on it, they move closer, trying to get a better look, trying to find some kind of explanation. But the object doesn't behave like anything familiar. It remains in the air, completely still, making no sound, not falling, showing no sign of being controlled by anyone nearby. They keep watching, following it, trying to understand, and it simply stays there for several minutes, as if nothing around it has any effect. Then, without any warning, the sphere begins to drift away slowly. It rises, getting further and further, until it disappears. Both the young man and his sister, who was with him at the time, insist that everything they saw was real, and they have no idea what it could have been. And of course, there's always a simpler explanation. It could be a drone, some kind of equipment, or even something reflecting light in an unusual way. But even so, the way it moves, the length of time it remains still, doesn't seem so easy to explain. So the question remains, was it just something unusual that we don't fully understand yet? Or do you think it really wasn't from here?